Hello and welcome to Tasty MTG, a podcast on all matters of good taste about the game we all love so much, Magic: The Gathering. My name is Geis.
And I'm Martin. Today we ask the question, what do a Janis Pridemate, Daring Archaeologist, Disrupt Decorum, Hull Breacher and Mox Pearl have in common? Well, they are all illustrated by our guest, Siddharth Chaturvedi. Without further ado, let's start the episode.
So, hello everyone. Hello Martin.
Hello.
So, before we start with the actual interview, you may ask, what is Tasty MTG, or why is this episode not in German but English? Martin, do you have an answer maybe?
So first of all, for all of those who listen to us the first time, Tasty MTG is a German-speaking podcast all about flavor, lore, art, casual play, and everything that makes Magic: The Gathering fun. And maybe you will not find the right answers on how to win a game here, but how to lose in style and have as much fun on the way out there as possible.
This episode basically marks the beginning of a new series that will most of the time, I think, be in English, maybe. So it is a series of interviews with MTG artists. So we talk to the people who are creating the visual world of our favorite game. We talk about their work, ask them about how they work, who they are, and what they bring to Magic. And that is basically what we will do in this episode.
And we're starting off this series with our first guest, Siddharth Chaturvedi. I've mentioned some of his illustrations at the beginning of the podcast. And in the show notes, you will find a Scryfall search with all of his card illustrations. And there are some cards we will talk about. And when we talk about them, they will be shown on your screen while listening to the podcast via our feed directly, and your podcatcher supports this feature. Spotify, unfortunately, does not.
Okay, so before we start the actual interview and the guy we are talking about is allowed to say something, I want to announce a very special, unique giveaway. At the end of this episode, we will tell you how to enter in order to win a foil artist proof of Hull Breacher with a one-of-a-kind ink sketch on the back of it, provided by Siddharth Chaturvedi himself. So stay with us and you will get the chance to win this thing.
Yeah, and because Siddharth is living in Munich, Bavaria right now, we serve some special Bavarian dishes today. Guys, what do we have prepared for such a fine occasion?
So for today, of course, it's Butterbrezen. Mm-hmm. So pretzels with butter and sweet mustard and Weißwurst.
Prost Mahlzeit.
So hello and welcome, Siddharth Chaturvedi. Am I pronouncing this name correctly?
Yes, you are. Hi, guys.
And may I call you Sid?
Yes, please do. Everyone does.
Okay.
And it rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here and giving us the opportunity to talk to us and to ask you a bunch of questions.
My pleasure.
So first
Thanks
and
for
most
having
important question maybe. So what is your favorite Bavarian food?
Favorite Bavarian food? Once in a while, the Weißwurst. Otherwise, Butterbrezen. Otherwise, I'm pretty stereotypical. I gravitate towards schnitzel in general.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not into the Schweinehaxe and all that good stuff.
I was talking to guys before, and I'm vegetarian right now. But when I used to eat meat, I really liked Weißwurst and Brezel. This with sweet mustard. It's a really good dish.
Yeah, we have a good place nearby for that, near where I live.
But there are good vegetarian alternatives for Weißwurst right now. And
really?
Yeah.
Like really? Or it's like you forgot the original taste and you're like, this is must... how it tastes like?
It's the same taste. It's
okay.
It's interesting.
I'll have to keep that in mind. My fiance is vegetarian.
Okay, so let's get into your work and your art. And before we talk about the fine arts, I wanted to ask you, do you have any clue what your most valuable or expensive card is at this moment?
That would be Hullbreacher, I'm pretty sure. Just based on the absolute wild run on those artist proofs that happened as soon as I announced that I got them.
Right.
I have never packed and shipped so many artist proofs in a short time before.
Are you in the game? So do you know what the card does and why it is so valuable?
I do not. I honestly have I have very little clue about playing the game. I've not really gotten into it. Just because of time. It seems like that upfront investment of getting into the game, I just have not had the time to set aside for it. I have a lot of the cards sitting around, so I should probably do that someday. But I usually have friends who are into the game explain what the cards with my art on them do.
Yeah, it really is a time-consuming game.
It is, and unfortunately, most of the time is either taken up with work or painting the cards.
Yeah. How much information do you get up front when you receive an assignment about what to draw and how to get this magic illustration into
the
illustration?
Assignments are usually 1 or 2 sentences. They explain the character, they explain the setting and any action that might be there. There's usually a little note that says, it's just a few words about the mood. If it's a celebration scene, it might have a note saying like the wild party atmosphere. But they don't art direct them all that much. Like when you send a piece in, they usually don't come back for lots of little edits unless you're dealing with a character with some very specific features that you have to work on. And at most, we get very extensive style guides for every set we work on. So there might be references to those for costuming or location. But on the whole, they're not any more detailed, and they almost never say anything about the card itself except that it's a spell card or it's a land or something. So they give us quite a bit of freedom up front. It's quite nice.
But you get the information what a Merfolk is if you have to draw a Hullbreacher, for example.
Yes.
You see it in the style book. Okay, this is the Merfolk, and this is how they look on this plane.
Yes. Some creatures, some planes have more details than others. Like if it's something from Ixalan or Kaladesh or to some extent Dominaria, there's a lot of detail in those, especially if you're designing characters or locations for specific factions. Other ones, like at the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned Disrupt Decorum. That had no guidelines whatsoever for location, for costume, for anything. It was just the scene description, and they said, go with it.
Wow. Okay, so we will talk about this a little bit later. Disrupt Decorum, one of my favorites. But I really like your pirates.
Oh, thank you.
What is your relationship to pirates?
I've been drawing pirate ships since I was able to hold a pencil. I just love them. At first, it was just because of playing with Lego pirate ships and watching Peter Pan, the Disney movie. Mm-hmm. And I always liked them after that. And then at some point when I got into painting, I found like Howard Pyle and N.C. Wyeth's work and fell in love with those pirates. So all of my pirates right now, if you've seen N.C. Wyeth's work, you'll know exactly what paintings I've been looking at when you see my own pirates.
Yeah, because Hullbreacher is a pirate, it's a Merfolk pirate. Do you know stuff like this before, what creature type it is? Or do you just get the title and the art direction and then just go for it?
Generally, yes. Like Hullbreacher was supposed to specifically be a merfolk. And just because of the stuff I paint on my own, generally if I get an assignment that's open-ended, it's going to be a human character of some kind. This one did specify a merfolk. Not specifically Ixalan, but that is the look established for those creatures. So that's the look we went with there.
Another card that became a little bit famous was the Mox Pearl you painted for 2019 European Vintage Championships.
Oh, yes.
And that was a card that was printed before. Did you look at the previous illustrations, or how did you go about?
Do you know what a Mox is?
I was going to say, like, this ties into my not playing the game. Until I had finished that card, I had no idea what assignment I had just been given. I didn't know how big a deal that was until I had already completed the painting. So I had looked online for reference of Mox Pearls, so I knew what the older cards looked like. But, when I look at the card, I don't really know what they do. So that was a fun surprise later on.
Mm-hmm. And, did you get the title? Did you know you were painting Mox Pearl?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah. But this was the extent of how little, especially at that time, how little I knew about the game.
But am I right? Like, this Mox Pearl is just like a trophy for the one who won this 2019 Vintage Championship.
Yes.
It's just an oversized card.
Yeah, there are no printed cards. There are no artist proofs. So the guy who won that painting, that's the only one of them out there.
Wow. I hope you will do the other Maxes too.
Guys, this reminds me of our little talk with Philip Boberan we had in Prague, where we got to know that he painted Lurgoyf, and he wasn't aware that this card...
Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf. And this card was so famous, and if he had known it was so famous, he had used a bigger canvas to get a bigger... to get it more space. So
thank goodness it's not just me.
Yeah.
Before I start asking a question, I want to introduce another of your pictures. One of my favorites is Pouncing Lynx.
Mm-hmm.
And
good choice. That's one of my favorites.
Really?
Oh yes, that's one of my favorite Magic cards that I've painted.
Okay, wow. Because this was the first one when I looked at it, and you know, there's this moment you go through the cards and then you see an illustration and go like, okay, what's the name of the person who painted this? And this was like the one that let me first read your name. So it's Pouncing Lynx. It's not a very special card, except for the illustration. It's 1 and a white. It's a 2/1 creature cat. And as long as it's your turn, Pouncing Lynx has first strike. And so that's it. But what I really, really like is, the dynamics in this pictures are just off the roof. There is this, of course, I also saw this video clip that Ristic Studies did, and I recommend it to everybody out there watching it. And Sam, who did the video, called your sceneries hyperactive. So you don't seem to be that hyperactive, but you have this energy in your art. So explain to me a little bit, how is your working process? How do you create such dynamics in your artworks?
I'll start with the boring answer to that. The boring answer to that is when I first started getting into illustration and decided this was what I wanted to do, there was this very pragmatic side that was hearing that if you can paint crowds and if you can paint action scenes, and if you could paint horses, but I didn't focus too hard on that. But if you could paint those things, you would always have work. So I just started practicing those as hard as I could. That's the boring answer. I really do like, I love painting action scenes. I love painting these dynamic pictures. A lot of the pictures I look at are like that. I just very early on wanted to steer away from doing like very still portrait kind of paintings. I think like any illustrator on earth, I really love Frank Frazetta's work. Like I said earlier, I love N.C. Wyeth. I like the Golden Age illustrators, and most of what I love in those pictures at that time, what I loved about them was the action and the movement and how dynamic they are. And over time, it's become less about just violent action or like dynamic lines and diagonals and all the in-your-face stuff. Over time, I've sort of more become in love with just how they communicate any kind of ideas, any kind of mood, including action, but including lots of other things as well. But I like you said, I'm pretty calm day to day, but I did just very early on fall in love with doing these action pictures. And, I got into it when I was in my 20s, so I just wanted to paint things that were as in your face as possible, and that stuck with me.
Yeah. So, but are you listening to drum and bass while painting your pictures, or heavy metal, speed metal?
Some heavy metal.
How does it look like when you're painting?
When I'm painting nowadays, it's mostly a podcast or some kind of classical music. But depending on mood, like especially if I've had a long day, it might be something like the soundtrack from Doom Eternal or something, or I like power metal. Nowadays, it's a little quieter in here just because I have the headphones on all day. But it depends. Like if I'm painting an action painting, I'm not necessarily listening to action music.
Of course, yeah.
More likely a podcast or classical.
Does it vary from what you're painting or illustrating? Do you have specific podcasts or music to get in the mood of what you're painting?
I think it used to more. I used to try to match up what I was painting with some kind of related mood music. So like faster, heavier music for action, or like if it were a moody scene, some kind of darker music. Same for a romantic painting. Nowadays, not so much. Like I said, nowadays we're actually trying to keep it quiet in here when possible. It sort of goes hand in hand with I paint a lot slower now than I used to because I'm just paying more attention, and because of moving slowly, paying more attention, I just need a little more silence. So it's more living in my head now.
Yeah, but that absolutely makes sense. When I listen to a lot of FX Twin music. Do you know this?
Oh,
like,
yes.
And I hope everybody who hears this podcast also knows FX Twin, if not, to listen to it. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and he described this music, which is like full of 1,000 rhythms and little tones and details. He described it as like a Tibetan monk putting together like a mosaic or something like made from sand, and it needs such a calm space to create something that is so detailed and it's so dynamic. So it absolutely makes sense then how you describe it.
Yeah. Plus, depending on the picture I'm painting, like for instance, I can't go into specifics about the picture, but one of the magic assignments I'm working on right now. Like the perfect mood for it is this. It's very tribal. It's like in the woods. So the music, even when I'm sketching, that I have playing in my head is. Do you guys know Heilung?
I don't.
No.
There's another band that's similar music, but it sounds. It's very like northern, like snow country, northern European, very tribal music. And it's if you've not heard those guys, you should definitely look them up. They're so cool. But
we will leave a link in the show notes.
Sure. That's what's playing in my head while sketching for this because it's perfect. I can't actually listen to that music while sketching or painting because my legs keep moving.
Of course. Yeah, you have to keep a calm hand.
Yeah, that would be advised.
How dynamic would you describe your life? You have a full-time job and you're painting Magic. Is this correct? And not only Magic, also D&D.
Yep. I do a Magic, D&D, my own painting. I do a lot of this far less than it looks like just from the volume that's accumulated over the last few years. Because it really is an evenings and weekends thing. It like when it comes to the time I can spend on it, it's honestly more like a hobby. So I work in video games. So my whole day is spent in Photoshop. It's spent in calls. It's dynamic. No, not so much. I think I spend most of my life in this chair. Between this desk at the computer and my easel behind me. Lots of different work, almost all drawing and painting. I don't get out much. In the last year, I'm trying to as much as possible. But yeah, the Magic, the D&D, it really is a side thing.
Would you like to up this time to illustrate for those kind of assignments, or do you say okay, the balance right now is good?
I am constantly going back and forth on that, actually, like even nowadays. I do. I mean, I enjoy painting much more than working in video games, say. I would prefer being at my easel working in oil than working in Photoshop any day. A lot of that is just because I spend so long with Photoshop that I want to do anything else once that's done. But it really depends. Like, I got into this because I love painting. I got into this not out of a love for video games or even the games I work on. Like I said, I don't play Magic. I did play Dungeons and Dragons, but the video games, so I really enjoyed those. So I would like to paint more, for sure. I'm not settled on whether that means I want to move into that and away from video games, because there are a lot of honestly very interesting challenges in video game work. It's definitely, especially at my job, it's much more varied because I work at a video game publisher. It's called Deep Silver, and we're not a development studio, so it's not like I'm working on one single project for 4 years. We're at the publisher and working with a bunch of different developers, so we're constantly bouncing around different projects. All of them have different needs. It's not like do a few paintings for a bunch of different projects. Some of them are art direction. Some of them are actually more writing and being in calls. Some of them are lately I've started doing budgeting and small project management, which is completely not anything I was trained to do. So it is interesting in that way. I think if I were full-time into illustration, it would be fun because I'd be painting more. But I think it's hard to say because I spend 40 hours a week with video games. Now I feel like, I wouldn't miss this at all. But if I were at my easel all day, maybe I'd want to do something else.
And let's say you have all the time to paint. Would you prefer to have more assignments, or do you have some things in your mind that you would like to make for your own without an assignment?
Oh boy, I really wish I had the time to do my own paintings. I have years worth of a backlog of pictures that I want to paint. And I think last year, even with all the extra time we got from lockdowns, that meant that was an hour and a half that I wasn't commuting every day for the whole year. That was amazing. Even with that, I think I did 2 personal paintings the entire year. In a year where we do have commute, it's maybe not even that. The only exception is once a year I do this Inktober challenge, which is doing one ink drawing every day for the entire month of October.
This is really great. I follow 2 German cartoonists who do this.
Oh, yeah?
And both of them say, as you mentioned before, it's very hard to draw horses. I had to laugh when you said it. And bicycles. It seems horses and bicycles are 2 of the most difficult things to illustrate.
I can attest to horses. I've not tried bicycles too often. When I have, yes, it's much harder than it looks. But yeah, there is that 1 month of the year when I'm doing almost nothing outside of work, except those ink drawings. And during that month, a lot of the personal work I do in painting ends up being based on the sketches I'm doing for Inktober. So I just have like a stack of drawings that I'm just aching to turn into paintings. So yeah, if I had more time, I definitely would not want it swallowed up by assignments, which that's actually another reason on top of that I don't necessarily know if I would want to move away from video games and start doing fantasy illustration full time. The video game work takes away time that I could be working on, say, Magic and D&D. It is also, for better or worse, it is also stable work to have. And if I want, I can use that to then spend my free time painting my own stuff if I want. I tend to then fill it up with Magic and D&D. But the option is there because of having that job. And I have a feeling the last time I did freelance full time, which was 2012, I have a feeling if I were doing freelance illustration full time, I would just panic and fill all of my time with work and gigs if I could.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And if you do the thing you love full time and you have to live from it, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, because then you've turned it into work.
Yes.
So then it's like I mean, I run into this with painting. Even with sketching, I have to actually remind, because I'll sit down on the couch and just be like, I don't want to draw. And I have to sometimes remind myself, you actually enjoy this. It's not work. You're just talking about doodling in your sketchbook, not doing a job.
There's another aspect of your life that adds up to this whole thing of how to figure out what to do first and in what sequence. There's a card you've illustrated that's called Long Road Home, and in German it's Lange Heimreise. We talked about this in our Christmas episode where we had a little advent calendar where we opened a little door every day and presented a card. And we talked about Long Road Home. And as I learned, looking at your work and life, you studied in the US and you're now living in Germany, where we call you, in Munich. Yep. How did this come to be? And is there actually right now a place you would call home, both literally and in an artistic way, maybe also?
Artistically, not so much. For me personally, I've jumped around a lot. I jumped from the US to India to back to the US, a few cities in there and then here. And my family still lives in India, so I visit them there. Add to that, my in-laws live in the Saarland, so we're in West Germany quite often. I still have relatives in the US. Some of my best friends are in the US, so I'm all over the place there. So I'm used to moving around a lot. I get a little stir crazy in one place. So, my home is here. I work here. My fiance lives here. My in-laws live in Germany. And families my parents are in India. My brother's in the US. So home is kind of all over the place there.
So how did you manage the last year in the pandemic with all these different places?
Unfortunately, I didn't.
Yeah.
The only place we were able to visit was the Saarland. So it's actually quite a while now I've not seen my parents, which is not fun, especially with the health scares going on over there. India's not in good shape right now. They're thankfully healthy. They've been vaccinated.
That's good.
My brother lives in a small college town in the US, so and he's a basement dweller even more than I am. He doesn't really go meet people. We're both kind of the same that way. So everyone is safe. We are really looking forward to being able to travel again because you kind of take for granted like this whole bit of modern life where you can live anywhere, you can talk to anyone online, you can just take a plane, visit anyone whenever you want, and then this came out of nowhere. So
and even if you said you really like it to be quiet when you illustrate and draw and you're on your easel and you're secluded in your room, and on the other side you want to go places and meet people and maybe get
I mean, I've been telling people lately I'm not a party person. I'm not into crowds. And at this point, I would be happy to go to Oktoberfest.
Have you ever been?
I've been to Oktoberfest twice, and it's not my thing at all.
No,
it's too many people.
No. For most Germans, it's not their thing.
I haven't been there even once.
But no, right now, I'd be happy to go to Oktoberfest. I actually miss seeing large numbers of people.
For people in Berlin, it's Weihnachtsmarkt at Alexanderplatz. something that you can only hate. So for how long are you living in Munich now?
Way too long to not speak German fluently. I've been here since 2014.
But Bavarian is a very difficult dialect in German.
Oh yes.
So don't.
It's a fun one, but it's difficult. No, I'm getting better now. I've learned more in the last year than I think in the 6 before that, just because it's nice to be able to talk to my in-laws. So that's as good a reason as any to get the language skills up. But yeah, I've been here for a while now. I moved here for the day job, for my work in video games.
Okay, I wanted to ask, maybe you wanted to move to the Saarland to get a little bit closer to this part of your family, at least, but your work is in Munich.
The work is in Munich. If they allow us to go full remote after this is all over, no, we would seriously consider that. It's beautiful out in the Saarland. It's very, very nice out there.
So, but before that, you lived in the US, right?
Yeah, in San Francisco.
Did you experience some kind of like change in your work, in the stuff that you're painting when you move to a different place and you have a new surrounding, a new area to live, and new people around you?
That's a good question. I've actually never thought of that.
Because I don't know which kind of the paintings you painted in which place. So,
no, I'm trying to think about it now because, like I said, I've actually never thought about that at all. Subject matter wise, no, definitely not. I mean, I was always painting like fantasy work. I've always been painting the figure. If I do any work outdoors, that changes with the location, but I honestly don't do that much of it. That's hard to pin down. I know that when I moved here, so San Francisco is rocky and lots of buildings in the city. There's actually not much greenery around there in the city. So when I moved over here, I think that just the change of scenery, there are a lot of, like in the Munich area, there are a lot of trees, for example. And it's more slow paced. Seems like the people are a little more chilled out, but it's also a much smaller city. Not size-wise, just population. There really are not many people in Munich. So I think I calmed down a lot, and that might have made its way into the work somehow. Subject matter-wise, no. But I think there was a period of a few years when at least, and part of this might also be having that steady job and not freelancing full-time. But I think I also just had more time to experiment and play around with my own painting. So I'm sure that had some effect.
Did you already paint for Magic the Gathering when you were in the US, or did this only start when you were in Germany?
No, Magic started here. I did start working for Wizards of the Coast when I was in the US, though.
But for D&D, not for... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Magic came later. I got into Magic quite a bit later. Well, no, not that long. End of 2015. My first card was Long Road Home.
Okay. Really?
Yeah,
really?
That
because
was my first card.
It came out later, right?
No. I don't think it came out that much later, because it was, I think, in Innistrad in 2016.
Yeah, and right after that was Kaladesh.
Yeah, Kaladesh was right. That was the second set I worked on.
Yeah, Long Road Home was in Innistrad. That's correct.
Yeah. So that was the first one. It was re-released with, I don't remember which set, but Long Road Home was re-released later in some other set.
So I was thinking that Thriving Ibex, the card you painted for Kaladesh, you took a trip to the Bavarian Alps and looked at this goat and got the influence from there, right? But as you said a few minutes ago, the surroundings don't have that much of an impact on your illustrations.
Well, not where I live. So shockingly, I've actually not been to the Alps, even though I live right here. It's that same effect. I didn't visit anything around San Francisco until the last few weeks that I lived there.
Yeah, to take it all in before you leave.
But no, I mean, I definitely take in any locations I visit. I've not been to the Alps.
So how often do you travel between all those places in a good year and when there's no pandemic going on?
I don't go to the US that often. When there's no pandemic, I'd say once every 3 years, maybe.
Oh.
It would probably go up more because my brother moved back there. I mean, in a non-pandemic year, I'm in India once or twice a year. We're in the Saarland, usually 2 or 3 times in the year. And we would try to travel somewhere, maybe in Europe, just on our own. At least once a year.
There's one question that's on my mind, and you can say if it's too personal, but
Sure.
Since you have relations to India, and Kaladesh was the Indian influenced set, and it was branded as this. I've heard a lot of talk in the community that many people that are from India have some issues with the Kaladesh sets. What's your view on this take?
Well, the first thing was when I first opened the style guide, I thought it was cool. Just because, I mean, at that point, I think it's possible I just wasn't paying very much attention. But it seemed like at that point, everyone was just starting to get into using other cultures to use in fantasy settings, like trying to explore something outside of the, well, Lord of the Rings look. So it was nice. There's definitely a lot of material you can use from Indian culture. So I thought the variation was nice. I don't have any issues with it. No, I don't find that too personal a question at all. I don't have issues with it. I did find it a little bit of a shame that, and this is keeping in mind, it's not like I think they could have done it differently because it would be a minefield. But one of the notes, like, big glaring note for Kaladesh is no religious symbols, which is, I completely understand why. I cannot imagine Hasbro wants to touch that with a 10-foot pole. It's like, it's perfectly understandable. But you will automatically lose, like, I don't know, half of what makes any Indian setting identifiable by taking out the religious symbols.
Since it's so deeply embedded in the culture and the society.
Yeah, it's not something for most people. I mean, I would say this is the case anywhere, but it's very visible in India. It's not something that, like, people live their lives and then once a week they go to the temple and that's it. It's just like something on top. It's just like a layer, like we go pray and then we live our lives completely differently. It's very embedded in life over there. And it's embedded. That's just day to day. But even visually, when you go there, it's in the architecture all over the place. It's the symbols are all over the place. It's in all of the art over there. So I think when you take out explicit religious references, which again, it's not really a criticism because I don't think they could have done that any other way. It is also a shame because just a lot will go missing. It loses some of the flavor.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But
I think,
I will also say it's not meant to be like specifically India. It's referencing that. So that's also fair enough. It does have its own identity. Part of that identity is the golden filigree, which is not fun to paint. It looks cool.
Yeah, that I think that's very difficult to illustrate the whole details in this set and this world.
And and I'll be fair here. I'll be fair here. There's a way to do it. It doesn't mean that no religious symbols means that okay, the only architecture you can use is onion domes. That's not the case at all. There's a ton of architecture from there that you can use in a painting or in any kind of design that it doesn't have to have like an identifiable Hindu or Muslim symbol on it. So it's not that it becomes too restrictive because of that.
But it's very interesting because other sets like Kaldheim, where we recently have been, or Amonkhet, they do have religious, they have gods and deities, and that was missing in Kaladesh now that you mention it. And I think you can make a German set without seeing any religious symbols at all. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. although I imagine a lot of the difference there is the religious symbols you'd use in India are all still in use. So there's, I don't, with something like Kaldheim, you're really not, well, within some reason, but you're probably not going to accidentally offend people with anything in that set.
By depicting Odin.
With India, it's, again...
You're not affecting the wrong people.
Yeah, I mean, like with a set in India, I don't know much about Indian Americans within India. I don't know. I guess you'd have to be a little wary of it.
I heard a comment by Shivam Bhatt. He's like also a big podcaster, MTG podcaster, and he was also quite positive on Kaladesh and the world that they created. And I just remember this one detail. He was like, "Thank you for not creating these four-armed somethings and not using cliches too much." And it was like one day before this angel with four arms like spoiled the card, but it's like the only thing maybe that use a little bit of cliche.
I mean,
I really enjoyed Kaladesh.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I don't. That sort of stuff does not like, it wouldn't get on my nerves at all. I don't. For me, that stuff's fun. I wouldn't find it personally offensive, but again, I can't understand why they would try to stay away from it. I don't think I've seen the four-armed angel though. That's pretty funny.
We'll send you a link.
Yes.
But this set has a special place in my heart since it was the set I started playing Magic with. And therefore it was very interesting hearing your take on it.
Yeah, it was a fun one to work on. And it comes up again now and then, like just stray cards that refer to a set, not like you'll have stray cards now and then that might be set in Innistrad or something, even though there's no Innistrad set coming, as the flavor for the card. So occasionally you get something that goes back there, and then I'll open the brief and be like, "Oh God, Golden Filigree!" But it's still a fun setting to paint. It's definitely fun to paint.
Yeah, and I think it makes a difference for me. Would I have started with Innistrad? It was this dark set and this horror set, and starting with such a light and vibrant and colorful set as Kaladesh, it set the tone for my Magic experience, and maybe for this podcast as I approach Magic, since it's fun to watch, to play, and to look at the art. All the thriving animals are very great, and the swirly clouds, and it was such a positive world to get to know this game.
I mean, now that I think about it, the first few years I was working on it, there were a few sets almost back to back that were just like that, these really open, joyful color palettes. Because I think in quick succession there was Kaladesh, there was Amonkhet, Ixalan, at some point Dominaria again. So
yeah, Guilds of Ravnica was also really colorful, at least
right.
What you did. Well, not everything. You also did the Midnight Reaper, which is quite dark. But the camaraderie that you did is a really stunning piece.
Thank you. That was another fun one.
Yeah, let me ask you a little bit about your lighting in the pictures. So I have here like Knight of Grace and Knight of Malice are like two pieces that are actually one piece. Correct? Yes. These are like two knights jumping on horses, like across a water, a river or something towards each other. You did this as one thing because it just looks like it has been cut in the middle and put onto two separate cards?
They're not, they work together. They weren't necessarily designed as one scene that's then split in half because, honestly, when I put them together, there are little bits about it that don't quite make sense. Like, if you look very closely at it, they're not really properly aimed at each other. They're about to ride past. Lighting's a little different, like very slightly, but, just because it's a diptych, it was fun just to set it up graphically that they could be joined together if you really wanted to. And that turned out to be a good thing because then they wanted to do things like make the joined playmat and It's a nice marketing image that way when you put them together.
Yeah.
It wasn't designed to be one like a realistic scene, but they do work together graphically.
Okay, perfect.
Which was an interesting challenge.
I can imagine. So this piece like shows me a lot about like the contrast that you're working with. But when I'm thinking about the lighting, there are coming to mind a lot of other pieces. Like when I look at your pictures, I see a lot of dynamics. But also when I look at your pictures, I see like a kind of hard light, like a realistic hard light that you put into your scenes. You can find this thing at Drillbit, which has like a spotlight, a hard spotlight upon, and this red light coming from underneath. And you have Final Reward, and you have Mox Pearl with a hard light on the hand holding the pearl, and Rampage of the Clans, which is really great. The Garrison Cat, Pouncing Lynx. I have a whole list here, and I think I can almost name every single card where you like use some hard lighting to like give the scene structure, something like this. So and I hear from a lot of illustrators that like the making the lighting and setting the lighting is one of their favorite parts of painting.
Absolutely.
So tell me something about this, how about your process, about your thinking about the lights and shadows, and especially about the lights.
The light, when I'm sketching out a scene, the lighting typically comes second. The first thing I'm trying to do is just get it to work in line at very, very small size. Like, oh wow, I'm thinking in inches now. I don't know, basically the size of my thumb across, like a very, very small picture, about that big. Wow. I'm trying to normally get it just to work at that size and doing like pages of these things. Just trying to make several pages of different very small sketches, and one, seeing what looks the most interesting at that size, and two, what at that size still communicates some kind of idea. Not the scene realistically, just something about how the shapes on the page communicate something. Like, for example, camaraderie. At very small size, the design for a card like that, even though at that size you can't see any characters, there should still be shapes and lines on the page that somehow give that open, joyful feeling, give that feeling of unity. If something is like Night of Malice and Night of Grace are good comparisons there. At small size, when I have those two next to each other, I want the Night of Grace to look stable. I want it to look, there's movement in it, but it should look powerful. It should look stable. It shouldn't look too crazy, versus the Night of Malice, where the way, not the way the horse and the knight are drawn, just the way all the shapes on that image are designed. I want it to look hectic. I want it to look spiky and dangerous, and almost like this thing is moving so fast that it's about to fall over. The first stage of designing a picture, I want those ideas to work at very small size, even though you can't see a character and you can't see a horse and you can't see any of this stuff going on. After that, like once I have a design that works at that size, just in line and shape, then I'll usually start, if I don't already have an idea of lighting in mind, I'll start to play with the lighting to do sort of the same thing. It also, like you were saying, to pull forms out, to spotlight things, to create cool shadows. But I want the lighting designed in a way that gets that mood across also. So again, the two knights. Like I said, those two pictures don't really make sense when you stick them together. They look cool. But the lighting doesn't quite work realistically because they are two different ideas. I want that Night of Grace. The lighting is designed partly to look cool and partly so that everything stands out well and you can see it and the color is bright. But I also want it to look, once again, joyful and stable and like protective and heroic. So the golden light, the big billowing bright cloud, Just the way the light is caught on the knight and on the horse, even the way the light reflects in the water, all of that, those are designed to get that feeling across. And it's the opposite in the Knight of Malice. I want the way the light and shadow is designed in that. It was made that way because I want it to suddenly look gloomy. There's very little light in that picture because I want it to look more hopeless. I want that, it's a knight in black armor on a black horse, but I can really push that drama by not, it would have a very different feeling if I had that same black knight in the same pose on the same black horse, but had a bright sun shining on it. The mood would change completely. So just that overall feeling is usually what guides the lighting that's been designed into the piece. Drill bit's another good one. There are two things going on there. One is that this is a bunch of characters on a stage. I'm completely blank. Rakdos. It's on a Rakdos stage. This is being done for an audience. So the spotlights are part of that. It was looking at Cirque du Soleil photos. Just how they use different colored lighting and spotlights, and it pulls the form out and you can see everything and the shadows are dramatic. But then I'm trying to think of how to make this look evil because again, the cards are, the printed cards are very, very small. These things have to read as soon as you look at them. So that one's, so I have the spotlight that shows that it's on a stage, that it's for an audience. But then you can play with the more dramatic side of it. It's like, okay, I want this to look evil. I want it to look like these guys are up to no good. There are a bunch of characters carrying this guy. So, and this does multiple jobs because it's not like a fake light you build in. It's a stage. So you could still have, again, these Cirque du Soleil style colored lights. Put a red light on the characters that are holding him up. Now suddenly there is this sort of hellish undertone to the whole thing. So that's usually what goes into designing the light in these things. It's not only that I want it to, I want to be able to see the characters and see the forms and see the shadows. I want it to play some part in the drama. Ajani's Inspiration is another example of that. That piece would look very different if all those characters were dropped into shadow and backlit. It would be a little more foreboding, probably.
Ajani's Influence. You mean, maybe? Or did I get something wrong? Martin, please help me out.
I think it's Ajani's Influence, the one
okay.
where he's holding...
it's possible I'm mixing this up with the name of the assignment.
Yeah, I heard it a lot, that the name changes throughout the process. And even you get told, even if you told the name of the card you're illustrating, it could end up with another name in printing.
Yeah, definitely. So Ajani's Influence.
What really sticks with me are these daylights. I like with the Pouncing Lynx or the Garrison Cat. When I look at the piece of Seth MacKinnon, I look at the shadows and of the structures of the shadows. And when I look at your pictures, I really like the lightings. Maybe because I'm a little sensitive to light. So when I'm outside and I don't have my sunglasses on, everything looks like really, really bright. So this looks really like a realistic lighting. To me, where does this come from, and why does not everybody use this kind of hard lighting, like boarding parties? Your pirates are this is great. This is really, really, really great. Do you think it's something that you took from somewhere else, or something that you the lighting, the hard lighting helps you to create maybe more dynamics or more energy in your pictures?
It's a bunch of things. Part of it is once again the pictures I'm looking at. You do see a lot of that, dramatic sunlight, spotlight in a lot of the era of illustration I like to look at, which is early 20th century. Honestly, a lot of that probably also comes from working in ink. Just because of the nature of that medium, I'm immediately working with those dark shadows, not always with spotlights. It really depends on the picture. But it does lend itself to having those heavy shadows, which means a bright light that does help carve out those forms. It's oversimplifying a little because with paint you have more opportunities to play with lighting than necessarily with ink. But Yeah, using that kind of light, it does also help in a dynamic picture, because I don't necessarily want to use that for a softer image or a moodier image, but in something that needs to feel open and joyous and heroic, especially, or an action scene like Pouncing Lynx. That light, it helps you see, it pulls out the color, but it does help it become more dynamic, because I can then design those harsher shadows. And the shadow shapes alone can make an image more dynamic if you design it properly. So the lighting just helps to accomplish all that.
Keep it going, man. Do more of this stuff. This is what I really, really enjoy. I just have some of your work in front of me, and it's like I could name one picture after the other. Like Deface, it's like crazy, where all the light is coming from underneath, or Rampage of the Clans, where it's like this bright yellow golden sunlight is coming from the back. And
thanks. Those were all a lot of fun to do, especially Rampage of the Clans.
So this really translates to me. Yeah, Martin, do you want to ask something? If not, I have more questions.
I was just thinking, a lot of your pictures, as we just discussed, are in a very bright and well lit stage, and I really enjoy looking at these, because I have the feeling there's at every corner I look, there's something to be discovered, and there's and even in the darker pictures, everything is so clear and recognizable. It's really joyful to look at these, and I always get a feeling as a viewer there's nothing hidden from me, and if it's hidden, it's clear why it is hidden and to where I have to look. So this is something I really enjoy in looking at your art. That I have the feeling it's yeah.
Thank you.
You put a lot of work into to fill every pixel, every inch of the canvas with the information that should be there.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, thinking about it, even for those darker pictures, saying that there's still clarity, half of that is a practical thing. When you print those dark pictures, they immediately go black. Mm-hmm. So I need to make sure they don't do that. But part of it is also, like I've said this while talking to someone else in about Magic recently. With some exceptions, like a recent card of mine is Zat's Influence. With some exceptions like that, generally, even when I am doing a gloomy picture or a horror picture or just something with a darker look to it, I don't want you to feel miserable looking at it. Mm-hmm. So again, there are exceptions, but for the most part, I still, even if it's a horror picture or something like just generally not nice, it's a picture of death or war or something, I still want the image to be beautiful. I want you to have a reason to look at it and to have something to take from it. Like, there's a line where I don't want a person to be repulsed and not want to mm-hmm. look at the image anymore. So a lot of that factors in also.
Yeah,
Zat's will is so dark in so many ways.
Yeah, but that's the feeling I get from looking at these pictures, that I don't feel, they don't feel gory, they don't feel repulsive, as you said. It's nice to look at them, even if they show a dramatic scene like in Drillbit. They're really good pictures.
Thank you. And yeah, definitely not gory. That's like just a person. Partly, I think Magic in general, they don't want gory scenes, but even in my own work, like, I could be painting as a violent and action scene as I want, but I'm generally not going to lean into gore, because that actually goes in the wrong direction. It starts to either become repulsive or it almost becomes funny. Like that, it's a weird thing that happens when you start to layer that stuff into an action picture. It completely ruins the drama. Yeah.
So Drillbit is something before it's getting gory.
Oh,
definitely.
yes.
So I can see the gore. When I see these pictures, like there's gore in my head.
Yes, yeah. Well, the suggestion of it is stronger than actually showing it in any art form.
It's quite a joyful scene. Still.
Well, he's having fun so far. Everyone else is having fun in it.
Yes, definitely. So let's talk about one of your more gory action scenes, about Disrupt Decorum. I really, really like this card. So this painting looks like a heavy gold framed, like a little darkened over the ages, like from an old master's oil painting, you know, which is not happening by accident. But how much oil did you actually use for this piece?
That's a digital piece.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually don't remember what year that came out, but I don't think I was working in oil yet for Magic at that time.
It came out in 2017. Well, that was the year it came out.
The card came out.
So I painted it in 16. So yeah, I when I first started working for Magic, they didn't want me to work in oil because I wasn't ready to yet. My skills were not up to...
They didn't want you to work in oil.
Yeah, not because of anything against oil. My skills in oil just weren't ready yet. I had to work at it for a while. But no, I mean, they all have that traditional look, but that one is painted digitally. All of my first few years of Magic, they're all digital.
Okay, but this changed over the time, right?
Yeah. Eventually, I was working at oils on my own because I always wanted to paint in oils. And at some point, which card was this? I think it was one of the pirate cards. I think it was Mass Mutiny. At one point, I just decided for myself, okay, I'm ready. So just painted it in oil and quietly submitted it without saying anything. And they came back and said, hey, it looks great. And you did this in oil, right? Cool.
So they recognize it, yeah?
Yeah. You can tell because
high-res pictures
at high resolution. Like you can tell. Like I can do as much post processing as I want. You can't hide like the little artifacts that get picked up in photography, and I'm not trying to hide that they're oil. The point was it had to be of a certain quality before it would be acceptable.
So is this a standard contract? Every illustrator that signs with Wizards, they write in, when you start painting for us, you start digital, and after a few years, you can go to oil.
No, not at all. They don't care what medium you use, really.
So it was your decision when you switched from digital to oil.
Yeah, I mean, I was clear with them from early on that my goal was to work in oil. That's what I wanted to do. The advice I got from them early on was, if you want to work in oil, it's going to take longer for you to get Magic work, just because I had to get my skill in oil painting ready. So I wanted to start working for Magic. Okay. So it was like, I'll work digitally and then work towards oil. But no, they have a lot of people who I don't think they touch digital. But if the image looks good, they don't care. Like recently, one was Adam Paquette. I don't remember. I can't remember who the second one was, but they did. They did their pieces that they were supposed to look like wood carvings, and they actually carved them out of wood.
So. Yeah, it was
Victoria.
Victor Adam Minguez.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I saw this tweet, and he had this carved out wooden plank.
Oh, they were so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But why do you want to paint in oil and not digitally?
It's one, like I said, I'm using Photoshop all week, so I just don't want to look at the computer anymore at the end of the workday. I was trained in oil. I started painting digitally, and then I went to art school, and when I was training in oil, I just fell in love with it. The main thing, like for illustration, because when I started art school, I thought I wanted to be a concept artist, and I did become a concept artist, but that wasn't the dream at some point. That's just where the work is. I saw a painting of Greg Manches's at a workshop in oil, and it's an amazing image, but the part that blew me away about it was when I got up close to it, all of the detail disappeared. It was just thick brush strokes everywhere. So I was this was in 2008, I think, and just seeing that, I was completely blown away by how all the detail, everything about the scene was just suggested by putting these like thick passages of oil paint. And when you step back, it came together into an image. And I just fell in love with that. I loved that you could pull that sleight of hand And like that kind of approach worked its way into my digital work also. But like just that in combination with being in art school and painting in oils, I like using the physical material. It feels like there's more control. You can't change things as easily, but you have a direct connection to the painting you're making. You can feel what's happening in the brush. There's always going to be, like with digital, you can do amazing things with digital. I love it for a lot of reasons. But the longer I worked with oil paint and ink, and digital alongside it, you do start to sense when you're painting on a tablet, anything you're doing with that tablet is being translated into, like, it's going through a program. These are like Photoshop brushes feel nice. You learn what they do. You learn to predict it. You learn to work with it. You can customize it completely, but it's still more like what you're doing with that pen is being translated into something that the computer is then doing, and you're just learning to work with it that way. And I prefer that physical contact with the material. Like you can feel the pressure changes in your finger when you put the brush against the canvas. You can feel what the paint is doing and how fluid it is, and it just, there's more sensitivity to it. It feels like you have more control over the mark you're about to put down. It also means you pay a lot more attention, and that's an example. This is one of the things I love about ink. Less so with oil. You can make a lot of corrections with oil. Nothing like digital, but you can go back and forth with oil. It's quite forgiving. Ink is not forgiving. If you put a mark down, it's there, and you can never change it again. If you make a big enough mistake, you have to scrap it and restart. And that changes the decision making. It makes you careful. It makes you more intentional. And I couldn't explain why it is, but I like the effect that has on my work. And it's the same with oil. It changes the thinking in a way that I like the results of.
At what point in an assignment do you decide which way to go in the digital or oil? Do you always want to start in oil, and if you see the assignment and say, "Oh, that's difficult to do, I'll go digital," or do you have a process in determining which way to use?
It's almost always about time constraints. If I have the time, I would almost always prefer to do it in oil, just for my own satisfaction. In Magic, there's that added benefit that you can sell the original. That definitely makes a difference. Like most of my Dungeons and Dragons work is digital because there's almost no market for originals. But even that comes down to time. Even though you probably will never sell a D&D original, if I had the time for it, I would prefer to do those in oil, just because all the reasons I was just talking about. So normally it's just time. I don't have as much time to paint as I would like, so I have to pick and choose a bit. Once in a while, I'll still do a Magic piece digitally, and I always regret it. I hate doing it. Not because I don't like the result. It's not as fun for me to do.
So if you could choose, you always choose oil.
Yeah, and it's just nice to have that physical object at the end of it.
So when will be the next auction of one of your paintings?
Oh, I have no clue. The auctions happen when the piece releases, and I actually didn't do that many Magic pieces last year, so there should be something soon. I honestly don't know. I don't even know what the next set I worked on was.
So you didn't have any pieces in Strixhaven, which came out recently?
No,
correct?
No. I only found out about that set, I think, when it was released or when it was announced.
Yeah, but there will soon be a Magic and Dungeons and Dragons set that will come out, and I can imagine that there will be some work of you in there, because you work for Dungeons and Dragons and Magic, correct?
I think so. It's a year ago now.
Would be a wasted opportunity not to use your work.
I'm just trying to. I tend to forget what sets I worked on.
Yeah,
I think I might have, but it's in the brain fog now. I honestly can't remember.
And this will be the set you start playing Magic because you get in via D&D, and then you understand the whole world, and you just have to pick up the rules.
So do you still have some original pieces at home, or did you all sell them? Like
for Magic, for Magic, I have all the unreleased ones sitting here. Though the original I still have here is Boarding Party. I still need to actually put that up.
Tell me when.
I definitely will. I was actually supposed to do this back in January, and then I kept slipping.
So we will delay the publication of this podcast episode until Guys has bought his copy of Boarding Party.
I don't really know where to hang this thing because I have to talk to my wife, but yes, I will make space for it somewhere. No, I don't know if I have the money to buy this thing, but it's definitely something that I want to look more into it. Like this whole market like blew up in the last months and years and became larger and more interesting to a lot more people.
Which is cool because a lot of the Magic artists that have been doing almost only digital work have started doing oil paintings now.
So this also changed like the whole scene, yeah, and how they're working for Magic.
Like I think last year I started to see the first like Tyler Jacobson pieces in oil. Mm-hmm. And he went to the same art school I did, but he was before I went. He's trained in oils. Like he was painting incredible oil stuff, like right out of school, just not for Magic. Now the oils for Magic have started to appear. It's like yay!
So no NFTs from your side in the next months.
Not at the moment. Just not.
Yeah.
I mean, I've paid attention to it. A lot of my friends are in it.
Crazy.
Honestly, I don't have much personal work because it's all been Magic and D&D.
Yeah.
So I just don't have much to throw into that space. I'm keeping an eye on it.
So everybody should have a look on your websites, siddharthchaturvedi.com, and there everybody can also find not only your work for Magic, but also your work for D&D, your ink stuff, which is really, really interesting. Yeah. And yeah, just click around, and there's also a store where you can order stuff, printings, prints, artist proofs, whatever.
Yep. I need to update that artist proof page also, but yes, it's a little out of date.
So I think there's not so much more left for me to ask. Maybe we should do a second interview and a third one. But for
you know
right
where to
now,
find me.
I'm like I got a lot of answers that I will think about the next couple of days and look into your art even a little bit more. And Martin, is there anything you would like to add? Anything you would like to ask?
No, I really enjoyed talking to you. And as Guy said, I will have a close look at all the pictures and illustrations and all the cards I own. I will go through my collection tomorrow and pull out all the cards you illustrated and go look at them very, very closely because it was such a delight talking to you and getting to know how they created.
It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I appreciate you reaching out. It was a nice evening. Like I said, it went by quickly.
It's so interesting going to Scryfall and type in artist Chaturvedi, and then you see all the stuff that Sid painted. And this is really interesting what kind of cards that you have are connected by an artist. This is really, really interesting. And I don't know if I think you don't have enough stuff yet to build like an own commander deck with just your illustrations. So you have to work a little bit more.
I should ask them about a special cat deck.
Yes. So when will you change your name to Chaturvedi?
I think that might be on the horizon if this keeps up.
So in French, it's chat. So it's already kind of
exactly
your name already. So it's time for us to serve the dessert, right?
Yes. Before we let it go, we have a little dessert for you and for all the listeners. And we'll go right at it. Guys, what is it?
Oh, we serve some Bavarian cream, of course.
So as you remember, we made a promise at the beginning of this episode, and we're holding true to it.
So Sid is giving away something, a foil artist proof of Hull Breacher, and you said with a little ink drawing on the backside.
Yep.
Wow, so this is a really unique thing. So when you have this, nobody else in the world will have it. So how can you win this? We will choose randomly one of you who will, and there are several options. You either can follow us on Twitter and retweet the post to this episode. And if you're not on Twitter and you don't like Twitter at all, you can also go to our website and leave a comment under this episode. So our website is tastymtg.de and our Twitter handle is @tasty_mtg. You can also find Sid there. We will also link him so that you can follow him and follow his works. And I really, really enjoy your small galleries that you put up lately, where you just choose 4 of your paintings and post them.
Thanks.
And give them a little title.
Is there a time frame we want to give to the listeners for how long since this episode went up?
Yeah, of course, we should give it a limit.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
So we've got 2 weeks from the release of this episode to enter, and there's no right to appeal. And good luck to you all.
Because then when it's longer, I have less chances to win when more people are entering.
Yeah, you have to save up for buying boarding party.
This is correct, right? And but other side, when it's longer, I have more time to make up fake accounts to enter. So either way, I will not enter. So somebody of you will win this thing.
But I really, really do hope that we get a lot of Sid's paintings in the future, that we all have the chance to buy a original or a print.
At least a print.
Yeah.
No, I want to have an original.
So let me again say thank you to our guest, to our very first artist guest on this program, and it's been a really pleasure.
Thanks, guys. It's been my pleasure being here.
Thank you so much, Sid.
Thanks, guys.
And have a good time, and stay safe and stay healthy. And until next time.
Likewise, looking forward to it.
Okay, bye, guys. Until our next episode.
Goodbye. So everybody, thank you for listening to this very special episode. It was the first part of this series that we want to do now, of interviews with artists like Sid. And this episode was in English. The next episode of Tasty MTG will be in German again, but I think the next episode, the next special episode, the next interview will probably also be in English. So tune in from time to time, see what you're doing when you're not German speaking. And if you want to learn German, you're welcome to listen to our other episodes that we do about flavor, casual play, MTG art, you name it, all the things that make Magic the Gathering fun. Thank you for listening to us, and see you soon. Bye bye.